Okay, we are learning on Ralph. You are the man holding up the fort, holding up the world over here.
Yeah. Well, where are we? What page?
We are on 29B5.
B5. Okay, not that far away.
29B5.
B5.
Okay, I'll just bring you up to date. The Gemara B5 on towards the top of the page. Motiv Rabbah. The Gemara said that they introduced a very important concept in the Gemara Shabbat called Davar she'ein mitchavein. When you do an act where you don't have intention to do a malacha, you don't have intention to do something, an act that violates the Shabbat, it's not definite you're going to do the act that's going to violate the Shabbat. It might happen. So what? Well, let's give a case. The Gemara, the famous case is, let's say you have a bed, and the bed is outdoors, or a couch, and you have a couch that's outdoors. Can you drag the couch outdoors on Shabbat to get it from point A to point B? So what's the question? Whether you could drag the bed. When you drag the bed, the feet of the bed might make a furrow in the ground. We welcome Asaf. Asaf, it's good to see you on the screen. That dragging the bread might make a furrow in the ground. Making a furrow in the ground is associated with one of the 39 categories of malacha called charisha, plowing. You can't plow on Shabbat. If you're going to plow on Shabbat, it's the first to plow on Shabbat is violation of Shabbat. If a person knows that he's going to drag the couch, and even if he doesn't have intention to make a furrow, but he knows it's going to happen, that's called that's called a psik resha. You know it's going to happen, and you can't do that. You can't drag the bed with the knowledge that you know that it's going to make a furrow. Just like a person can't say, I'll cut the head of the chicken off, but I don't want the chicken to die. You know it's going to die when you cut the head of the chicken. That's called psik resha v'lo yamut. You can tell me you cut the head of the chicken, it's not going to die. So too, over here, if you know you're going to make a furrow, and a furrow is what loosens the soil to be able to plant, that's called plowing. The case is that you don't know that you're going to make a furrow. You might, yes, make a furrow. You might not make a furrow. And there, Rabbi Shimon says, you are allowed to drag the bed or the couch as long as you are not definite, as long as you don't know that you're going to make a furrow, you're not intending to make a furrow, and you don't know that it's going to definitely make a furrow. The Gemara brought a dissenting opinion, a different opinion that argues on this. Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says that even if you don't know that it's going to make a furrow, but the fact that there's a chance that this act might make a furrow, that's a violation of Shabbat, and you can't do that. You can't do that on Shabbat. The Gemara had a whole discussion in understanding what exactly is the case that these rabbis are arguing. Meaning to say, Rabbi Shimon, who has the more lenient approach, lenient opinion, who says you could drag the bed, what would he hold if you could pick up the bed? It's like a small little bed or a small little couch. Would he require you to avoid the situation? Or will he allow you, even if it's a small item, and even though it also could possibly make a furrow, he will allow you just to drag it, just like a big item, a big bed, a big chair, which you can't carry. How far does his allowance go? Is his allowance under all circumstances, whether it's a large bed, small bed, or only specifically on a small bed? That's one approach. Similarly, there's a discussion, there's an argument in the approach of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says you're not allowed to go ahead and drag the bed and the couch. Is he only referring to a case when it's a small bed, a small couch, where you could easily carry it? But if it's a big bed and a big couch, he would agree you could actually drag it if you know if you're not intending to make a furrow, and it's not definite that you're going to make a furrow, would he admit in a case when it's a big bed, when you can't carry it? Or is his law that you can't do it and drag the bed or the couch even by a big bed and a big couch you can't carry? He still doesn't let you do an act that the result of your act might be doing a malacha, might be doing a job called a malacha called plowing. That was the Gemara. Those are the two different approaches in understanding the disagreement between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon. So, Motiv Rabbah. So Rabbah asked the following question. He's gonna ask on one of these approaches. Mochrei Kesut, a person who's selling garments. He's in the old days they will be going Orchard Street on the Lower East Side, right? But now today you go, garments, Madison Avenue, right? Someone who's selling, or the garment district, someone selling clothing. Mochrin, and he's selling clothing to Gentiles. He's selling clothing to Gentiles that contain in it shatnez, that contain in it wool and linen, right? People have to be very careful to check the clothing to make sure you buy a suit, if you buy a wool suit or a linen suit, you got to check if it's shatnez. If you buy a wool suit, you got to make sure there's no linen. If you buy a linen suit, you got to make sure there's no wool. And it's the more expensive the suit, the more possible that it'll have shatnez. Because it's more expensive suit, they like to put a very piece of linen on the collar. They stitch in because it gives it a good stiff hold. Remember, one of the members of the shul here in Safra gave me a coat, a very expensive coat that he had. And they brought it to the shatnez laboratory and they found shatnez in the collar, very well stitched in. It's a $2,000 coat, whatever it was. So, Mochrei Kesut, listen, the coat doesn't have to be a $2,000 coat for it to have shatnez. Anything that's more on the high end, you got to be concerned. Motiv Rabbah, Mochrei Kesut, and even suits that are not very expensive, if they're 100% wool, they should be checked, or they should call the laboratory, see what they say you should do. Motiv Rabbah, Mochrei Kesut, people who sell clothing and they sell it to Gentiles, and you're allowed to benefit from shatnez, meaning to say you can't wear shatnez, but you can wear a garment that has wool and linen stitched together, but you could sell a garment that has wool and linen. There's certain things that you can't benefit from. You can't benefit from basar b'chalav. You can't sell a meat and cheese burger, so to speak. You can't, because the Torah says we learn out. The Torah says you can't eat, you can't have benefit from basar b'chalav, meat and milk that were cooked together. You can't eat, you can't benefit, you can't cook them together. But here, the prohibition of shatnez, chametz on Pesach, you can't benefit from chametz on Pesach. You can't, if you found chametz, you can't sell it on Pesach. You have to sell the chametz before Pesach. There's certain prohibitions that the Torah forbids benefit, but this prohibition, the Torah did not forbid having benefit. You could go ahead and sell shatnez as long as if you sell it to a Jewish customer, you gotta notify him the shatnez has to be removed. So mochrei kesut, someone who's selling clothing, mochrim kedarkam. They sell in their normal fashion. Now, what's the normal fashion that the salesman, when they want to go ahead and sell a garment, the salesman actually puts on the garment. He models the garment. He says, look how nice this looks. Today, the guy goes into the store, you give him the garment to him to try on. But in the old days, one of the ways where the seller would put on the garment and look how nice of a suit I got, or a jacket I got, whatever it is, you want to go ahead and buy it. Now, even though the garment has shatnez, how do you like that? The garment has shatnez. He's allowed to go ahead and put on the garment to show it, because why? Why is he allowed to do that? So Tosfot, the Gemara says, but it's own. The Gemara says, "Bavad providing that if it's the summertime, you're not putting on the clothing to protect you from the sun, and if it's in the winter, you're not putting on the clothing to protect you from the rain. Because if you're now, he's showing the garment outdoors. Okay, let's say he's in the market, right? They're having a market day, and everyone's coming to buy, and he's showing the clothing, and the sun is beating down. So if you have in mind that you're wearing the clothing to protect you from the heat of the sun, you can't do it, because then you are benefiting from the garment. And if you're benefiting from the garment, that is the violation of shatnez. But if you don't have intention to protect you from the sun, you don't have protect you from the rain, then you could model the shatnez clothing. Tosos points out, Tosos asks the question, says, listen, it has to be talking about a situation that it's not definite that you're going to get benefits from the rain by having the clothing on, or benefits from the clothing from the sun. But if you know for sure that you're going to benefit from the sun, it's the summertime. You don't want the heat to go on your body. You don't want to get you don't get burnt by the sun. And you're putting on this clothing. You say, I don't intend to have benefit, but you know you're having benefit. The sun is shining, and it's a real benefit. You can't do it because it's like tantamount to the case of you're going to chop the head of the chicken. Say, I don't want to kill it. You know what's happening. We're talking about when it's not a psik resha, when it's not definite, that it's going to go ahead and you can have benefit. Now, how is it possible if not definite? If the sun is out, I'm definitely having benefit. If it's raining, I'm definitely having benefit. But Tosfos says we're talking about, let's say you're wearing other clothing to protect you from the sun, and I don't need this extra layer of clothing that I'm modeling. That layer of clothing I could do. I have clothing underneath it. I'm wearing my full clothing. I got my rain stuff on. I got my poncho on for the rain. Or it's the summer. I got some other stuff, and I put all my whatever they put all the things on the sun whatever they call it. What do they call that, Ralph?
Sunscreen.
Sunscreen. They got the sunscreen on, and I don't need it. It's not doing anything for me. I got the sunscreen, and I got other clothing on to protect me from the sun. It's not definite I'm going to have benefit. And the violation of shatnez is when you benefit from the shatnez. So if a person's wearing shatnez, but he's not benefiting, he's wearing wool and linen stitched together, but he's not benefiting from it, that's not an act of of the malacha of the prohibition of shatnez. If you go ahead and you make a furrow, and you know you're going to make a furrow, and you're benefiting now that your ground is now softened, now it's able to planting, so you did have benefit by the bed if you know it's going to make a furrow. So therefore, that's why Tosfos says over here, we're talking about, it's not definite you're going to have benefit. Now, but the tznuim, the Gemara says, the tznuim, the people that are very, that try to keep away from anything that people could say that looks bad, people could say things about them that they're doing things that are not correct. So those people, the tznuim, they're not going to be satisfied to model a shatnez clothing, even in the case of the sun, even when he doesn't have intention to benefit from it, they're not going to do that. They're not going to wear the shatnez. Rather, mafshilim makel lechorehem. They'll put some sort of stand, whatever they call it, and they hang the clothing in back of them on a stand. They themselves are not going to wear it. So the Gemara says, Vahacha over here, by selling the clothing that's kalayim, where we allow the the regular person to wear it and model it, even though now why do we allow it? Because he's not definite benefiting from it, and he's not intending to benefit from it. He's just intending to show it off, to model it. He's not wearing it like a normal wearing. We wear it to wear as clothing. He's wearing it just to model off. But he could have placed it on some sort of stand without wearing it. It's possible for him to do that, and yet we don't require him to do that. So if it's true that what the rabbi said, Rabbi Yirmi, the rabbi who said that if you could avoid the situation, you would not be able to drag the bed or the couch if it's small, because since it could make a furrow, you would rather have to pick it up. And the only time Rabbi Shimon allows you to go in and drag it is when it's a large bed where you can't pick up, or a large couch. But if that's true, so they should not allow. Why is the guy is selling clothing? He could avoid the question. He could go in and just put it on some sort of stand. But he could act like those modest people that stay away from anything that looks so beautiful, and he could have done that. And it's like this is similar to a small couch you could carry. But if he doesn't have intention to benefit from it, Rav Shimon allows you to go ahead and actually model it, even though you could have done it some other thing without wearing it. You could have put it on something else. So too, this proves that Rav Shimon would hold that even in a situation where you could lift up the bed or lift up the couch, a small one, but you're not required to do that. You don't have to if you're not intending to make a furrow, it's not definite you're going to make a furrow. You don't have to go ahead and pick up the couch and pick up if it's small. Tiyufta the Rabbi Yirmiyah Tiyufta. This is a knockout on Rabbi Yirmiyah Rabba's position of he wanted to limit the allowance of dragging a bed or a couch to only something which is large. And we see from here that if you don't have intention to do the act, and it's not definite that you're going to do the act, you don't have to go out of your way to avoid the situation and pick it up without dragging it. Right? If you pick it up, then you're not definitely there's no malacha, nothing, no, there's no issue. You're not making any possible furrow. But we see you don't have to go ahead and go that far. I want to wish everyone a beautiful day, a beautiful Shabbat. Thank you all for being here. You made the whole difference in today's class, everybody. Thank you so much. All the best. Great to have you. We'll be back on Monday.